Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another special episode of Herschel Talkers. Got a great episode this week with my buddy Derrick and David, local Charlotte Bulldogs fans, and we have a great discussion. Please follow us on YouTube, Twitter, post stuff on Facebook and 247. Georgia's got another big opponent this weekend, Tennessee Volunteers. So we got another great podcast for you, and enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Herschel Talkers. Coming up on week 6, I guess, but it's week 5 for Georgia. They were off last week. Got a couple of buddies from the Charlotte area, David and Derrick on the phone. They're joining us this week. How we doing today, guys?
Good. Ready for some football.
How you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me back on.
Yes, sir. And we got David, first-time guest, so we're excited. First off, no problem. Give a plug for you guys. Tell us a little bit about Charlotte, the watching bar. I'm going to try to make it again this week. I know I came the first one, but tell us a little bit about that. We'll give a plug for you guys, for our small listeners here, small amount.
For anybody listening who's not part of our group, we have a game watching arrangement at Hawthorne's Pizza, the original location on East 7th Street. So that'd be at the intersection of East 7th and Hawthorne's, right there in Elizabeth. And we have a nice little section in the restaurant, a lot of TVs, and they do beer specials for us every week. And there's actually plenty of parking. It may not look like it when you first get there, but there's parking in the back. They rent some overflow lots on the weekends, so there's tons of parking.
Nice.
So it's just a really good setup for watching a game.
How was the setup for the Notre Dame game? I was actually at that game. It was pretty good turnout, or how was that?
It was okay. I think a lot of people were down in Athens that weekend. As far as the setup goes, I mean, the setup was great. I mean, you have no problem hearing the game sound. All the views of the televisions are pretty good.
Right. Okay.
And they actually added a bunch of TVs this fall for us too.
Yeah. The best part is if you're in the Charlotte area, if you went to our previous spot, which was Kickstand, the guy that was running it at the time, which is Chris, he's running it at Hawthorne, so he takes care of us. So if you need a good spot to come watch a game, that's definitely the best spot in Charlotte for sure.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, thanks for talking about that. I'm definitely gonna try to be there Saturday at 7 p.m. What I was going to talk about, first off, I know Georgia's got to play Tennessee this week. The spread's 25. First off, I guess, what did you guys think about the kind of earlier news in the day about, is it the linebacker Jeremy Banks, and then the call, I guess they had the phone call, he got pulled over for, I think it was a illegal U-turn, and then Jeremy Pruitt going on there and kind of running his mouth. Wasn't a good look. What did you guys think about it?
Well, I mean, they're working hard to do the only thing they can do this season, which is win the Fulmer Cup. They got to bring it back home.
Yeah.
They're not going to win anything, so at least they can win the Fulmer Cup.
Yeah.
I think Fulmer's given Jeremy Pruitt an edict that this is the only way you can save your job.
Well, I think the whole situation, though, is it got put out there, and it's not a good look for them. But, I mean, let's be honest, how many times in other big programs and stuff has that probably happened? But, it's definitely not a good look if your players are immediately, let me call my coach to try to get me out of this. So it kind of puts, what is Pruitt kind of teaching these boys, because you should show them like, hey, you shouldn't be calling me to try getting you out of a ticket when, he was getting arrested for a warrant and a suspended license that he had. The cop even said he was just going to get a citation, but since he had a warrant, he had to take it.
So. Yeah, the whole thing was really screwed up. I mean, that was kind of my thought too. Like, why is he calling Pruitt? I mean, these guys have maybe been instructed to do this. Was kind of my thought. Like, isn't there somebody else that they should be calling? And then the player kind of threatened the cop in a not so veiled way, saying that they shoot cops where he comes from, or
Memphis.
something to that effect.
Hey, Memphis, Tennessee. That's how we do it in Memphis.
Yeah.
Not a good look. I feel like Well, here's the thing I wanted to ask you guys. So, do you think he lasts the end of this year? But if you go ahead and do the buyout, I mean, they're still paying Butch Jones from. I was talking to some other Tennessee fans, so it's like, do you give him another year? But if you buy him out, I mean, you'll be paying like 2 or 3 coaches by the time you get another one.
Well, that's the real problem is they're in a money crunch because they're still paying Butch, and then if they fire him, they're going to have to be paying him. That's where I think all the rumors are coming from that Fulmer's just going to end up stepping in and taking over as head coach, which I mean would probably be the best bet for Tennessee because old Phil, they did him dirty earlier, so he's just trying to take back what he thinks is his. And when they made him AD, yes, you had to see this coming a little bit that sooner or later he was going to get that itch, because if you looked when he first got hired as AD, he was staying away from the program to then all of a sudden he's coming out and being on the field during practices and stuff. So it was like little by little he's just inching his way in, and now they lose a couple more games, he's going to be able to just see you later there, Pruitt, and I'm the head coach.
Yeah, and I think kind of to your point, it seemed like he was sort of setting this up from the beginning because Fulmer came in and sabotaged the old AD and basically ousted him right at the point where they had an agreement in principle with Mike Leach. They basically had him coming, and then Fulmer comes in and sabotages that, and then hires this guy who was not qualified. I mean, he didn't have anything close to the experience that any successful head coach in the SEC has had when they take the job. And then he brings him in, and I don't know, maybe he just figured Pruitt can at least recruit, and so you bring in a guy that can recruit, maybe turn the roster around a little bit, and then at a certain point, just take over.
Yeah, plus I think nobody wanted this job anyway. Was it like 8 or 10 coaches just turned it down? So I think Pruitt was the only one that actually, stepped up and took it. So if that tells you anything.
But they did almost have Leach. I mean, apparently they just about had a deal done with him, and I'm glad they didn't sign that deal because I think he'd be sort of a tough opponent.
Yeah, and then Mike Leach is hilarious on the mic. I mean, what did he talk about this past weekend? Called him fat and lazy, his team, Washington State. He's hilarious.
Yeah, Mike Leach likes there.
Yeah. Still, that was a terrible loss. Was it a couple weeks ago? He was up 49-17 in the third, and still lost 67-63. That was a bad loss.
UCLA in the no defense bowl.
Yeah. Hey, Pac-12 after dark. That kind of game.
Yeah, well, at least nobody saw him lose like that, right?
Exactly.
Nobody's watching. I
didn't see it next morning about 8:00 on college football final on ESPN.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're going against our old friend, I guess now foe, Jim Chaney, offensive coordinator, aka Chili Cheese, as our buddy Derrick here calls him. So do you think that he'll have any kind of insight and plan being at Georgia for previous 3 years, or I also think Kirby might have something for him. Just he'll know what gives him problems. I know he's been having problems with Jerry Guantánamo. I call him Guantanamo Bay because I can't pronounce his name. So what's your thoughts on Chaney going against us this weekend?
Well, supposedly the word is that Chaney's been, kind of give him the insider info on Georgia and getting them ready this week. But it's not going to make a difference because the thing is, one, we've got a totally different defensive coordinator, even though Kirby's, still over the defense and everything. But, Chili Cheese, when he was our offensive coordinator, what did he do other than, make the wrong calls at many times, third and long, and we're just going to run it, to, not throwing screen passes when it's an all-out blitz, many, many different things that he missed. And I think Kirby is going to be all over him, especially on the defensive side, because we're going to know the vanilla that he runs. So, and the thing is Tennessee has nowhere near the amount of athletes as we do at Georgia. So I think it's, they may be able to try to go a couple series with us, but I think after that we're just going to wear them down, and it's it's going to be downhill from there for Tennessee.
I wonder if they're even going to score, because I'm sure that's going to be Kirby Smart's goal, is to shut out Chaney. And, he'll come up with all of his bunch formations, and we'll just lock that down. And who's their playmaker that could even get them in any kind of a rhythm? I mean, they don't really have a great offensive line. They definitely don't have a quarterback. We don't even know who their starter is going to be. They don't really have a playmaker on the outside at receiver that scares anybody. And
Jennings is the only one.
He just seems like he's been there for 10 years too, right? Jennings.
He's the Hunter Renfrow for Tennessee.
Yeah.
We can just lock him down. I mean, we can lock him down probably one-on-one with Stokes. We probably don't even have to double cover a guy like that, and then they really have nothing else.
Yeah, I completely agree. How about on the offensive side? I know you got all the talking heads and analysts said Georgia was a little conservative in the Notre Dame game. What would you like to see from Coley and from those guys this weekend?
I'd like to see some formations that we haven't seen before. I mean, that first half of that Notre Dame game, we didn't see really any new wrinkle at all. I mean, you'd think the fourth game, playing a bunch of nobodies, that they could hold some stuff back that they would stay for that game, but we didn't see a new formation. We didn't really see them try to stretch the field until late in the game. I mean, to stretch the field down the middle of the field, like a post route or a slant, because that's the stuff that was open there, and to get our most talented wide receivers on the field and keep them on the field. Guys like Tyler Simmons, I mean, he's a good blocker, but he's not really a playmaker as a receiver. I mean, Kyrus Jackson and Pickens and Cage basically are our top three. It seems like those guys need to be on the field anytime we're in a three-receiver set or more.
I think
problem with rhythm with those guys.
Yeah, I agree. You think Kyrus Jackson is going to be ready this time? I know they supposedly took the club off and he's cleared. Think he's going to be ready for the game, or what do you think? Or is it going to be more? I like Blaylock so far. I think he's been a pleasant surprise. Don Blaylock.
Yeah, I thought Blaylock's had a really good year so far. I think they're going to try to get Jackson going. Apparently, he's got the club off and he's basically back to catching. So I think they're going to try to get him going. Because it seemed like he was beating out a lot of our other guys early on.
You think that was Lawrence Cager's coming out party? Because he looked really good late with those last couple of catches. I was really impressed. I think it was 5 catches, 82 yards, and touchdown. His back shoulder throws from were money. I thought he looked really good.
That reminded me of Wims from 2 years ago. He just emerged, and then he was just this guy that anytime Fromm needed a big play or a first down, that was his number one target. It just had that feel to it.
Right. Hey, the poor man's Javon Wims.
I was about to say that. You beat me to it.
There you go. Sorry. Yeah.
But I think one thing that we definitely missed in the Notre Dame game, and you could see it like, watching from home. You being live at the game, it was probably definitely wild. I'll have to definitely get you to talk about that atmosphere there, Trey, being there. But with just watching it on TV, you could see that, we have some of the best receivers that we've had in years. And I mean, Pickens, that guy he keeps improving and improving, which, he already, to be a true freshman, is all crazy good. But he's only going to get better, which, a lot of guys are comparing him to AJ Green, which is a huge compliment. But not just that, but we have a guy in Demetrius Robinson that had over 1,000 yards as a freshman. Even though it was in the Pac-12, to do that over 1,000 yards receiving is impressive. And, he has lightning fast speed, and we're running end rounds with Tyler Simmons instead of him. In my opinion, D-Rob just has more of a playmaking ability than Tyler Simmons. And another issue, too, is, why are we having Tyler Simmons return punts instead of having some of our other playmakers that are actually elusive? That's a whole nother conversation. But,
I agree 100% on that.
Yeah. Like you have to throw it deep too, because we can run and do these little 10-yard passes. But, the problem is when they're playing man coverage, Pickens, when you're playing man against Pickens, he is going to outsize a lot of those DBs. you have to just throw it up there, and he's going to find a way. Because a couple of those in the Notre Dame game, you saw it on the TV. It was definitely pass interference. They didn't call it.
He was getting mugged.
And,
I agree.
and it is what it is. But if it wasn't for that, he was catching that ball. So I mean, when we went third and long, and we're going to try running the ball in and around instead of throw the ball. Like we can run. We got the running backs, but we've got some receivers we haven't had in a while, and I think that's one of the things Cooley's going to have to do is, man, you're going to have to mix it up more. You can't just keep running and running, pounding and pounding. You can only do that so much, to where the whole point of the pound and the run is to open the pass, and then once you open the pass, you open the run again. So it comes hand in hand, and that I think that's one thing that I definitely want to see is us throw the ball a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree, and throw the ball in ways that aren't just totally predictable. Like we were throwing just these deep go routes, and Notre Dame was just sitting on those routes. If the middle of the field was open, if we had run like a double move where the guy just was basically like he was doing an out, and then one of our better receivers could cut in and then run like a post off of that, we could have had some really big plays.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, back to the environment question, to switch over. Yeah, it was like, to me, the loudest. I've been to several games over the years. The loudest, just electricity, and like it was constant. Like I was there an hour before the game, and it was 90% full or even packed out. And I would say the old cliche, 12th man, 13th man. It was the 13th man for sure. I mean, it was 4 offside penalties, that bad snap that time, and they said after the game, Ian Book says I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't get the snap count down. So a big of a game that was, and I think Georgia fan knew it's like we had to win this game just to be in playoff contention. And then of course Notre Dame never come in there, and we play them 2 years ago, and then before that was 30-something years. So just electric and just great atmosphere, and the LED light was awesome. So I wish they'd have more home games coming up. But yeah, just great environment. I was glad I was able to get a cheap ticket. First off, I was lucky to have a friend around here because I know those tickets weren't cheap. But great atmosphere, great tailgate. It was a good day.
What did it look like on the field? Because you had a better vantage point being there than we do on TV, where you can see all 22 every play. I mean, what were you seeing as far as receivers down the field, especially in the first half? Were you seeing open guys, or were things more covered than we maybe could tell from television?
Yeah, there were open guys. What I noticed is just kind of the dink and dunk. Like, as you noticed, I've never really seen from it. They try to get it out there to Swift. And another thing about Notre Dame, I think that was one of the best tackling teams I've seen. I think Gary Daniels even mentioned that, which I noticed. They would just like tackle, and just most guys like Swift would, or Harry, kind of break tackles or something. They would just like fall down. It'd just be like clean tackling. I think with other teams would make a move and bust some plays, but it's just like real clean tackling. And I think they were up for us. They were tired of hearing about you can't stop the run, and they had a chip on their shoulder. And I think they gave us their best shot. And I know a lot of people was like, hey, we should have blown them out by 2 or 3 touchdowns, but I think that's a good Notre Dame top 10 team. I don't think they should get in the playoffs because that was their only shot. But gritty win, but it was conservative, to answer your question. And there was to me some open receivers that they should have thrown, but
I felt like in the second half of that game no other running back besides Swift should have gotten a handoff, because it was like there were all these plays. There were plays where Harrion was getting good yardage, like 5, 6, 7 yards, but there were several where there was just that second level guy that he couldn't shake, where those would have been 40-yard runs for Swift.
Yeah.
Well, I think if you're going to run other people, though, you have to use them. Like when they brought in Cook on that third down, I even said to my dad, I said, hey, they're going to hand it off to him. And that's what they did. Yeah. And when he just came in, like, you have to play those guys a little bit more. I'm not against playing. I mean, in my opinion, I think Zeus should have got a few carries. I mean, he's shown the beginning of the season, even though it's against lesser opponents, that he's a bruiser and he can run it up the middle. And I think a few times after Swift wasn't moving the ball. Essentially, you bring him in for a carry or something. But I'm sure they're going to get their touches later on as the season goes. But I think getting Zeus in there too, of when we're not moving the ball like we want to, will definitely help.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to see him get some more carries. And, kind of looking back on it, I think, have Harrion come in a little more and cook. I think Kirby kind of went with the most experienced guys. Not saying he thinks Zeus is not ready, but maybe he wasn't quite ready for prime time or he would have put him in there. Not saying – I wish he would have got some carries too. I know a lot of people are asking after the game. I think Kirby back against the wall just went with his most experienced guys, So not saying that was right, but I think that's what it came down to.
And Trey, did you see –
I was just going to say, I feel like we haven't quite figured out our identity offensively yet. I know we're always run the ball first, but as far as how the rotations are going to go this year, it just seemed like Coley hasn't figured out how to feature his best playmakers and get those guys the ball, because there's certain guys these are guys that need to get as many touches as possible. Running back wise, of course, it's Swift, but Cook needs a lot more touches than he's getting. And then receiver, you just got to find ways to feature Pickens more. He's clearly the best receiver.
Yeah, I agree. And then as Georgia fans, with the two close losses to Alabama, not to bring up the nightmares again, but it's just like, are we going to run into the same thing as, you're up by, let's say, 2 touchdowns, we're giving Tua problems and slowing down those receivers, and then are you going to make adjustments and you got to be more aggressive in the second half? And I know that's looking down the road, but I feel like we're going to run into that again. And have they learned from that?
It happened a little bit in that Notre Dame game. Anybody that didn't get nervous in that last 5 minutes. Before then, I was like, I'm feeling good. We're wrapping this game up. And then it was just like, we just let Notre Dame back in. Yeah. And then it was, the final 2 minutes, and you're like, oh gosh, here we go again. We've seen this before. So the good thing is we finished this one off. So hopefully it'll carry in to later down the road. We kind of know, hey, this is what we need to do. Instead of kind of letting the team creep back in, we have to be able to keep that pedal down and keep it, to where we're not worried in the last minute, or are they going to tie it or take the lead kind of thing.
Completely agree. Another thing is, I hope they had some punting tryouts, or had somebody pushing Kamara, because we can't have that happen again. That was terrible. 20 yards and 27 just shanking them. Yeah, I was up there nervous. I'm like, he just kicked the game away. I had when he threw that ball up at the very end, I know they had good pressure. I was like, 2015, or was it 2016 flashback against Tennessee? It's like, there's the ball, get it. And then
they actually we did knock it down, unlike in that play.
Yeah, I was just like, geez. But yeah, the punt, you can't have that in big games, as you know, with special teams. You can't have a fumble. You gave it away. And then, I wanted to mention briefly, I know we can get on the other things, but what do you think about this defense? I thought the defense, that was another thing that was impressive up there, just locked them down in the third and fourth quarter, and you can tell they made adjustments. I've been really impressed with the defense. Of course, they're really deep, but, what's your guys' thoughts on the defense so far?
I haven't seen a better defense, certainly in the SEC this year, but, I'm sort of hard-pressed to pick another defense anywhere that I would say is better than ours based on what they've shown so far. They haven't given a rushing touchdown to anybody, and teams basically can't move the ball on us. Yeah. Apart from number 83 from Notre Dame in the first half of that game. we sort of forgot to cover him for most of the half, but apart from that, nobody's done anything on us all year.
I agree. They're number 9, ninth nationally in total defense, was impressive. And the havoc rate is up. I know the havoc's a lot better.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing that was most impressive was we were pretty much down with 2 of our top DBs. Yeah. And Campbell, and then Stokes going down and getting hurt. That was tough. Oh, yeah. So, I think once we get them back healthy too, it's just going to add to it. But I think the only thing our defense needs a little bit more is we have to get a little bit more of a pass rush. Yeah. But other than that, there's nobody running on us. The biggest thing is I know you mentioned, Trey, of like Notre Dame not missing tackles. For the most part, I thought that was one thing that we were definitely being good on too, was we weren't missing a lot of tackles. So I felt like that's something that you can tell our defense is getting better at, because that's always been an Achilles heel with Georgia defenses is we tend to not be able to make the big tackles when we need to, and that's definitely something that I felt like the defense is stepping up on.
Yeah, I thought our tackling was really good, and I thought we were actually in the backfield quite a lot. But that Notre Dame quarterback was just getting the ball out. I mean, I don't know if he held on to the ball for even 2 seconds most of his snaps. It seemed like it was like watching. I'm not saying he's an NFL quarterback, but in terms of how fast he got the ball out, it was like they do in the NFL, where they're just that snap and go. I mean, make a read, get it out. It seemed like they were definitely afraid of our pass rush, which is a good sign.
Yeah, he kind of reminded me of we'll call him another poor man, Johnny Manziel. He kind of run around back there and prolonged plays, which is of course nerve-wracking. But definitely, I mean, he did well last week. They covered against a decent Virginia team, 35-20, so it made us look good. So
8 sacks in that game.
Oh, yeah. Another thing. What'd you think about, we noticed it from up there, you probably noticed it. What do you think about the injuries, man, the fake injuries? I think the one at the very end, like the guy just kind of just fell down and he pulled him down. I mean, and then Fromm's got his arms out. Like, what? What are you doing? What'd you think about that?
Well, that was over the top. Like, they weren't even pretending not to be faking it.
Yeah, it was bad. On TV, it even looked worse because, you had Gary on there, and Danielson's they're trying to they're not doing this, and then they would show a replay, and it was just like there's no defending it. The worst one was his player pulling him down. You could tell obviously that had to be they were trying to slow the momentum, but it was the other one when we rushed to the line to hike the ball, and that guy's like still on our side, and then he just goes down.
Yeah.
And the worst part is Brian Kelly then tries to defend it and say, well, my guy was cramping up. Well, then what? I didn't know eye drops helped with cramping.
Yeah, started crying or whatever.
that's something new to me. I never knew that, but hey, I might have to try that if I'm out playing a game or something. I start cramping, put some eye drops in.
Hey, keep the Visine handy.
Yeah, I was about to say, Visine, yeah. All right, well, what's the prediction for you guys? We'll go over prediction time on the Georgia Tennessee. I believe it's Georgia minus 25 currently on ESPN. What's your picks?
I think they cover. I mean, I think they definitely cover. I just don't see how Tennessee can really slow us down offensively. I think we can do our typical grind a team down and wear them down. And I think we'll score plus 40, like 42 or 41, something like that. And I think Tennessee will probably score, but I'll give them 10-13.
Okay. So 41-10, something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, I like it. Cover.
Okay, that's all right. Yeah, I definitely got us covering. I mean, just like I said, I think Tennessee may play with us for a couple series, and then it's just they don't even have an identity of what they want to do, and they just don't have the athletes, which is unusual with Jeremy Pruitt being a pretty good recruiter, even dating back when he was at Georgia. But I just think we'll just be way too much for them. I think it'll be 45-10 Dogs.
Okay. Yeah, mine I was going to go pretty close to that. Mine's going to be 38-10. I think they're going to hang around a little bit. I think Guantanamo Bay is going to throw a couple. I could see some tip passes just because he stares down the first receiver. Now, I think Chaney gives him too much to look at, and it confuses him. I think he just seems like a simple quarterback. Like, you got to, have simple reads. I'm going to think 38-10. It's just hard to blow out teams. I know we blew them out, 41-0 2 years ago. And then I think they're going to be pumped up first couple series. Like you said, Derrick, you're going to be under the lights at Neyland Stadium, but it's going to be all red and black in the third quarter, and that place is going to clear out. And they're going to be singing good old Rocky Flop, Tennessee. Yeah.
Last in the SEC.
There you go.
Hey, did you guys hear about what was happening at Tennessee football practice today?
Now, what was that? Got a little breaking news here?
Well, Yeah, maybe. I mean, from what I was reading, just Twitter chatter, Garantano went out to the practice field way early before anybody else, and he saw some kind of suspicious powdery substance on the field, and so Pruitt suspended practice. They called the cops, and they came and analyzed it, and it turns out that unidentified white substance was the goal line.
Oh, wow. There you go. Florida did hold him to 3. I'm kind of hoping they Guantano struggles and they put up that backup quarterback because I heard he didn't look too great either.
No.
I will say this, not to talk negative, but I do hope everybody plays well. I always heard that feels not great, and I used to call it knee fest because it seems like every time we'd have a running back blow a knee out. So I hope everybody, knock on wood, is healthy and wrap up Jake and bubble wrap and DeAndre and get them out early, I hope.
That's just a weird stadium. Did you guys know they actually have cadavers inside the stadium? I mean, honest to God, I'm not making that up. That's not a joke. I went to the game there in 2013 in Knoxville, and I was walking in with some Tennessee students, and they were pointing to some places that were like, there were classrooms. They have classes under the stadium.
Wow.
And they said there's some kind of biology class where they have cadavers in there, and they said that honest to God, they're like bodies in the stadium. It's just like that just explains that place. It's like the weirdest stadium in the world.
Wow, I didn't know that. Good call there.
Yeah, it's I was pretty amazed. But they said, yeah, it's truth. They really do. It's some kind of medical class in there.
Good deal. So I know it's been a hot topic last weekend because Georgia didn't play, and everybody got to see Justin Fields blowout and Ohio State blowout, Nebraska 48-7. You probably know where I'm going with this. So what do you think about everybody getting on the Justin Fields bandwagon? And you got some of the I forget the guy on Twitter saying Ohio State has the better quarterback, and he was on campus at Georgia. And I just feel like there'll be a meltdown if we run into him again in the playoffs, or if they, God forbid, beat us. What's your guys' thoughts on that? And I know we ended up with probably the best player for our system, Jake Fromm, but it's hard not to look over there and see what's going on in Columbus.
Well, this is the thing I think about what's going on is, one, the old Suckeyes are always the favorite to ESPN for one, which always helps. But I mean, the biggest question is who has the Buckeyes played?
Who have they played, Lou? You know what I'm talking
exactly.
about.
They haven't played. They haven't played anybody. But a bunch of they're the king of Ohio. They played Miami, Ohio, and they beat Indiana, which isn't. I thought they just had basketball. I didn't even know they had a football team.
Exactly.
So I mean, and if you look at the stats, one of the most interesting thing that none of the, Herbie or Danny Cannell or any of those guys are talking about is when you look at the stats. So his completion percentage goes down when he's rushed by a legit defense. So it goes down to 63%. His quarterback rating goes down to 73 from like 107 when he's not rushed. And then all of his other numbers go down. So what does that tell me is that when he gets to playing a real team, he's going to do the same thing that when Kirby tried putting him in games, he sees deer in headlights when he has the rush and he gets hit a couple times. He's playing a bunch of teams where he's able to run around, and because they have way more athletes than these schools that they're playing currently. So, I mean, they beat a Nebraska team that everybody knew except for the media because of they have old guy from Central Florida that took them to an undefeated season. Right, Scott Frost. They're going to go on. Nebraska's going to do it in the second year. No, they won 3 total games last year, and they're going to be lucky to do that again this year. They just don't have a team yet. And
they don't have much talent, no.
Yeah, they have no talent. So, of course, his numbers, he looks good, but no one knows what he's going to – he's got to play against some teams. And they've got Michigan State this weekend, which, will be interesting to watch. But, I mean, again, they have to play some real teams before you can crown them the best team in college football, as everybody in the media wants to do right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'll know more when they play Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Wisconsin, to me, from what I've seen, they look like the best team in that conference. Not Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State's played, FAU, Cincinnati, Indiana, Miami, Ohio, and then a pretty average Nebraska team.
Yeah, I will say this though: if they hang about 40 something on that Wisconsin defense, I'll be impressed. But we'll see. But yeah, that should be interesting this weekend. Speaking of that, Michigan State at Ohio State. I believe that's probably going to be ABC game. Probably Herb Street.
Probably.
Yeah, that's minus 20. What's your guys' picks or thoughts on that one? Michigan State, not the greatest offense, but their defense is good.
Yeah, that's a tough one to pick.
That's at Ohio State?
Yes, sir. 7:30 night game. That's the shoe, right?
Yeah, when they're playing at the shoe, they tend to show up. But the one thing is, Michigan State, they may have not had the greatest offense the past couple of years, but they have had a pretty good defense.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you say the point spread was?
Right now it's minus 20 on ESPN.
Oh, I definitely would take the points for Michigan State, but I think Ohio State wins, but I think it's going to be close.
Yeah.
I could see that being much closer, like maybe a 10-point game.
Yeah. I think it's going to be, 17-10 Ohio State.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, the other one we'll talk about the probably game of the week, especially in the SEC. I believe game day is going to be there. So you got the Barn Auburn at the Swamp against the Gators. Auburn -3 currently. I know this line switched a whole bunch. It'll be 3:30 CBS. Gary and Brad, what's your picks on that? What's your thoughts?
From what I've seen, Auburn looks like the better team, but with Auburn, who knows? But the Auburn defense is, in my book, the second best defense in the SEC behind us. I mean, I do think they have a legitimately really good defense. They have a great defensive line, and they have a really good coordinator. And then Florida has a quarterback who didn't even start on his high school team, who's, so far he came in against a Kentucky team that really took their foot off the gas, that really hadn't prepared for him because he was, of course, the backup. And then they played a really bad Tennessee team. So I think the Auburn defense can really slow down Florida in this game. I pick Auburn. As far as a score, I don't know, because the Auburn offense is sort of a question. I mean, they had that freshman quarterback who's looked pretty good up to this point, but he's still a true freshman.
Bo Nix, yeah.
Yeah, and who's Auburn's running back? I mean, they just don't have a guy that really seems like a stud. I mean, they don't have a guy like Kerryon Johnson right now. They have some decent running backs, but they don't have anybody that really scares you.
Yeah, Florida has a Nidmic nothing going on on the running game. I think their leading rushers got 197 yards per read. Yeah, I'll agree with that. I'm gonna go 28-17 on that one. But Bo Nix, I think Florida's gonna hang around, but Kyle Trask gonna get in some problems with that Auburn defensive line. Got Derrick Brown and those guys.
Yeah, I think you're right on the money on that. It's I think Florida's going to definitely hang around because they've got a few guys on defense that I think will help Florida stick around. But the real question is, and just like David said, that Auburn doesn't have that big of a running back, and Bo Nix, he's shown he makes the passes and throws when they need him, and he's going to be a good quarterback, I think, in the SEC and in college football as a whole. But it's one of those things, he's gone from a game where he's throwing 100 yards to last week he threw for over 300 and some yards.
Yeah.
So it's kind of which Bo Nix I think is going to show up for Auburn. And they're going to be at the Swamp. So
going to be rocking there too.
Yeah, that Auburn doesn't go to the Swamp much, so I think it's definitely going to be tough, but I think Auburn ends up winning. I'm calling 24-17 over Florida.
Okay, got them covering. Gotcha. Well, how about from a Georgia fan? Who you think would help us better in the long run to take the loss? maybe in the race.
We know Florida's in the same division, but
Yeah.
I think Auburn's. I don't know. I mean, that's a hard one. It's hard for me to pull for Florida in any situation.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the long run, Auburn helps us more because right now they're the surprise to the media, darling.
Mm-hmm.
And, in the big bad West, us beating them, I think they would take more in than us just beating Florida, even though I still think we're definitely going to beat the jort-wearing Gators. But I think the win of Auburn beating them and then us beating Auburn later on it would end up looking, better to the media, which that's what game you got to play nowadays. You got to be that darling.
Yeah, and if Auburn loses this, because let's just say they lost to Florida and upset, then I think they're at LSU, brutal. They got to play us and Alabama. I mean, you're looking at 9-3, 8-4, and then Gus Bus gets some flat tires and everybody starts talking.
Yeah, I mean, this could be a year. It wouldn't shock me if they beat Alabama.
Right. And looking at our schedule, I know we're third of the way through. What's maybe one of the games you're a little nervous about looking at? Probably know which one it is, but just wanted to get your guys' thoughts.
I think the toughest one is definitely the Auburn game. I mean, They catch us at home coming off a bye, and we will have played 2 straight games. I mean, that's going to be. And I also think they're the best team left on our regular season schedule.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, especially because of we're having to go through that late season ringer right there with everybody we're playing. I definitely think Auburn is the game that it always scares me. But I think again this year, you know how it was in 2017. We had the team to beat them and then it was they just came and sucked us in our mouth.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing is just we've just got to keep chopping that wood, getting better every week, and just whatever we do, don't take our foot off the gas when we're playing them.
Oh yeah. I know they lost early in the year, but I'm kind of gonna watch each week. I hope we can punch them in the mouth because that'll shut them up. But the sneaky team to me in the East is that Missouri because there's such a crappy West schedule, so we can't slip up against them. I don't want to. I think we'll definitely beat them, but Missouri just with that easy schedule is always like, all right, if you beat them, you got that head to head. But yeah, I agree with him at Auburn. Plus the whole thing is Kirby hasn't beaten a West team on the road. He's 0-3.
Right.
So that's another one. It's tough. So yeah, and then I just think Florida. We're gonna get up for that game. We always circle that one.
And all their off-season chatter, all Dan Mullen's trash talking.
Oh yeah, that's gonna
Kirby
be.
Doesn't forget. He doesn't forget those kind of things.
Oh yeah, you got plenty of stuff to bulletin board material there. I guess another one to go over for this week. So you got number 14 Iowa at number 19, Michigan. It's Michigan minus 3.5. The Fighting Jim Harbaugh's coming off 2 weeks ago a blowout against Wisconsin. Just walked all over them. What's your thoughts on that one?
I'm going to go with Iowa in this one. I mean,
yeah.
Michigan just looks like a team that's kind of lost.
Yeah.
I mean, they seem disorganized, and then this is the point in the year where a team like that just they look on the field like they have some kind of behind-the-scenes disarray. I have no idea what's going on behind the scenes in their program, but they just have a dysfunctional look about them. And Shea Patterson, did he get benched? Is he still their quarterback?
Yeah, no, he got hurt in that game. But he's still Michigan's quarterback. But I think they have an offensive identity issue. They brought in Gaddis from Bama thinking that he'd be the savior to their offense, and it hasn't helped at all. I think it's made things worse.
Yeah. They put 52 on Rutgers. The hell, Rutgers just fired their coach, so it tells you anything. Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Iowa too. I just think Harbaugh's got some problems, and then they might have to look at the whole buyout. And I don't know. The talking heads keep saying they're not going to fire him, but he might want to look at the NFL. I don't know.
And that's
I'm
an
a,
early game too. It's a 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. local kickoff
well,
for them.
that's the new. So Big Ten does their best game of the week is the noon o'clock 12 o'clock game on Fox. So that's their thing this year.
Get that
Is
nooner.
Yeah, the top game is a nooner. Like,
Which is
why?
actually taking place in the Central Time Zone. So that's really an 11 a.m. kickoff.
It's even worse. Like,
Early tailgate, beer at 8.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just can't get behind Iowa in very big games.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a good team, but I think Michigan finds a way. I have them. I have them winning 17-14 over Iowa. I think it's going to be close, but I think Harbaugh knows that his back is against the wall. Definitely, he can't afford to lose another one. And also, everybody needs Michigan to find a way to work itself out and get better because they're the ones that are going to have to take down Ohio State if Wisconsin can't do it.
Yeah.
So we need them to get back good.
Exactly. If that's possible. All right, yeah, and I'm gonna go with Trey's dog of the week, even though I'm 1-4. I don't even know if anybody wants to listen to this pick. I did not cover last week. I had USC. I think it was like plus 9.5. They lost by 14. But anyway, I'm gonna make another pick. This might be a little weird one. The men of Troy putting up some points, over 40 points a game. 2-2 is at Missouri, 4 p.m. SEC Network, but it's Missouri minus 25. Which is a lot. I just think Troy, looking at him, can put up some points against some decent teams. So I don't, definitely not winning, but I like Troy plus 25 covering against Missouri on that one, even though it's a weird one.
Don't forget, Missouri lost to Wyoming at the beginning of the year, so
That is.
They could, if they sleep a little bit on old Troy. Hey,
coming off a bye week and they put the beat down on the Shamecocks, 34-14.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah, I don't know that Wyoming. I don't even know why they scheduled that one. Laramie, Wyoming. Is that where it was at?
Yeah, they went to Wyoming to play.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, that was terrible scheduling.
Exactly.
Not smart. Not smart.
And speaking of that, should we be scared of the Shamecocks coming up at that 12 o'clock game? You think Kirby can give them up in 2 weeks?
I don't like us playing a night game
Yeah.
while that team sits idle following, with a noon kickoff the next week. So I don't think they're a real threat, but I think that game could be much closer in the first half than we think because of that, not, as much as anything else.
All right.
The one thing is always remember, our 00 agent is on the other sideline running whole Shamecocks. So, that's the one thing that does make me feel a little better is because I know they may hang with us for a couple series, but it's going to be. I think that their freshman quarterback, our defense is going to be just way too much for him.
I agree. Yeah.
I think he gave it all he had against Bama, and I mean Bama still beat him pretty well. So. I think he'll put up a fight, but it's definitely not going to be anywhere near enough.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're giving him a lot of problems. I think he struggled against Kentucky. Kentucky just couldn't do anything on offense. 24/7.
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't disagree with that. Now, it's not going to shock me if South Carolina somehow pulls the upset the next week against Florida, because I think this Florida team's great.
Yeah.
And they'll catch them off of back-to-back really tough games because Florida's playing Auburn, followed by on the road at LSU, and then the next week they play at South Carolina after 2 really physical games. Yeah. I could see them catching Florida a bit beat up in the second straight long road trip, and maybe just pulling an upset there.
Yeah, Florida could be looking at 8-4, 9-3. They could be looking at Outback Bowl or Independence Bowl, something like that.
Oh yeah.
Big time. All right, so I'll end up with it. I know it's early. It's early to talk about it, but give me your top 4 currently are your playoff teams if you had to pick today?
Ooh.
Yeah. Who's the best four you've seen? I know it's limited. A lot of Sisters of the Poor, School of the Blind. I've been calling them School of the Blind with cupcakes. Some of these 55-0 games. I'll lead it off then while you guys think if you want. I got Bama 1, got Clemson 2. No, I don't think they should really be in there, but they did win over against UNC. Got Ohio State 3 because I have been impressed, not wanting to. Their defense is number 2 in the nation total of defense and number 8 offensively. They have blasted and taken care of business, and I'm going to go, of course, the Dawgs 4. So I believe if you had the seeding, it would be Clemson versus Georgia in there. So anyway, that's mine. Bama 1, Clemson 2, Ohio State 3, Georgia 4. And I think number 5, Oklahoma, even though they haven't played anybody yet. If they put about 40 or 50 on Texas and blow them out, I'll be impressed. But that's my thoughts.
Speaking about Oklahoma, I think Jalen Hurts had shown, old Saban didn't let him use all his weapons when he was at Bama because Oklahoma has let him go, and he is putting up video game numbers, which is just crazy. So I wonder if Saban's sitting there like, man, maybe we should have let him go. But I've got Bama number 1. Even though they haven't played anybody serious. And then my other picks are going to be, looking more of, teams that have played actually people. I've got Georgia too. I still think we're one of the top teams right now. And we have one of the best wins against Notre Dame in a tough game right now. And number 3, very surprising, is I have LSU. I think their win against Texas and then the way they've been putting up points. Now, their defense hasn't been shutting down opponents like they have in the past, but their offense, that's one of the biggest things that people have said about LSU for years now is if they had a quarterback, just think what they would do. Well, they have one in Joe Burrow, and he is tearing it up, and their offense looks very scary. So I definitely have them at number 3, and then I have Clemson at 4 with the A&M win. And then rounding out the top 5, I would put Auburn with their wins over A&M and Oregon.
So no Ohio State, huh? Not impressed yet?
No, they gotta play somebody first. You can't go and not play anybody. Bama hasn't technically played in a ranked opponent yet either, but at the same time, we know Bama shows up in big games. What has Ohio State done the last few times they've been in the playoff? Nothing.
Exactly.
So
I'm gonna take a little bit of a different take than you guys. Just based on what I've seen so far this year and what teams have played, if I had to rank right now, I would put us number 1 because out of the top teams, we're the only one that's actually played anybody legitimate, and we played a top 10 team and we beat them. And defensively, we've basically shut everybody down. I think 2, I put Bama right now, but I still think this year's Bama team doesn't look like Bama teams usually do under Saban. Their defense has some real questions on it. They're starting a couple of freshmen at inside linebacker, which is huge in that defense because we run the same defense at Georgia, and that's the most demanding position on the defense. And to have freshmen there and that Saban defense that's a huge blow. And their secondary just looks a little bit questionable. And they're not really able to run the ball like they normally do. They're all throw the ball down the field, except the only game that they really they only ran the ball well was against New Mexico State. They had over 300 rushing yards in that game, but the other opponents they played, they haven't run the ball like we normally see. So I think when they play a team that has a really good defense, they will not score like they're used to scoring. And then their defense, I don't know how good it is. It doesn't look like one of their typical defenses. Number 3, I actually put LSU right now. I think they look better than Clemson or Ohio State. so far. I mean, there's some questions about their defense too, but Clemson just almost lost to UNC.
Mm-hmm.
So, from what I saw there, if they had to face LSU, they're not winning. At least what I've seen so far.
Yep.
So I'm going to go Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Clemson. And out of the top 4 is Ohio State, because I don't think they played anybody. And the same thing about Oklahoma State. But like you said, Trey, if Oklahoma State puts 35 up on Texas this week and, wins that by 3 touchdowns, then I might change my mind on that.
Yeah, I think for Oklahoma, probably the only test they got is Texas Red River Shootout.
Hey, but I will say, how after we beat Notre Dame, have y'all ever seen a team get crowned as if they won the game as Notre Dame did after we beat them? I mean, they come up with this, well, now this proves that they can play with the big teams and stuff. Okay, well, if we're going to use that same mentality, so does UNC, are they able to play with the big teams now since they, lost by going for 2 against Clemson? It just baffles me that how Notre Dame got pretty much crowned almost as if they won the game when we beat them.
Yeah. Yeah, UNC's not even the best team in the state. App State beat them.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mountaineers, man.
Yeah, UNC had Clemson on the ropes last week too. I mean, they going for 2 at the end was the right decision, but their play call on that 2-point play was horrible.
I agree. I might I was texting with some people. I don't know. I always, for some reason, I know they had the momentum going. I always like maybe going with the extra point and going in overtime with the crowd behind you. I know that they're at home. Coulda, shoulda, woulda, but I don't know. That was me. But yeah, terrible play call. Rolled it out. It didn't even let it develop. At least throw it up or do something. I don't know.
Or not call a play that eliminates half the field and basically makes the defense only have to cover a really small amount of territory.
Yeah, but I will say this: Clemson doesn't look like the same team, but they did have that scare last year. Remember Syracuse scared them to death, and they started rolling after that. So it'll be interesting. I think they have a bye week. It might be interesting to see how they come. But I mean, they're going to run over everybody. That looks like Virginia in the other division might give them a test in the ACC championship game. But I will say this: out of the 4 teams I've seen, I would like to play them. If I had anybody to pick right now, that's 4. It's like I'll take Clemson right now with the Dawgs.
Yeah, they lost a lot off last year's defense. They're not the same there, and they just don't look like a team that's hungry like they were last year.
Hard to get them up.
Hey, don't forget about those Demon Deacons now. They're undefeated in the ACC.
Exactly. Forgot about them, man. Hey, and they beat UNC by what, 7, better than Clemson if you do the triangle.
Yeah. So watch out for them.
I just think everybody but Clemson needs to just throw the basketballs out and get ready for ACC basketball. That's what I say.
Have you ever seen a conference in such disarray in football that's a Power 5 conference as the ACC is right now? I've never seen it. The Pac-12 gets a lot of crap, but it's just because they beat up each other. There's some decent teams in there, but they just beat up each other. In the ACC right now, you have Clemson, and then there's Wake and Virginia right now. But other than that, you have nothing. I mean, you have a Georgia Tech team losing to Citadel. You have Florida State still trying to figure out who they. Miami was the darling that they're going to be back. They're going to be back. No, they're not. And I mean, Boston College, they're up there tailgating, probably eating caviar at the tailgates. Yeah. I mean, I've never seen a conference like the ACC be in such disarray when it comes to football.
Man, the team that really has surprised me that I was watching, I believe it was last Friday with a friend's house. What's happened with Virginia Tech Fuente? I thought that was a good hire. Inner Sandman. I mean, I feel like, man, you need to put Chicago on or Aerosmith now when you come out. Remember, that was a scary sight, one of the best interests. But, man, Duke blew the wheels off of them. I mean, I know Cutcliffe's is a decent coach, but And what's going on with Virginia Tech? They got problems. Because they used to always be like, they could contend or kind of push Clemson, but I don't know. That's a disappointing team.
But
Well, the
even
talk
under Beamer,
play.
they got upset a lot. I mean, they would get beat
Yeah,
by teams like East Carolina on a regular basis. So
yeah,
I don't feel like what they're doing is tremendously different. But yeah, that's Old Dominion last year, and now Duke just destroying them this
yeah.
year.
At home too.
Right.
You can just tell that there's dissension on the team because supposedly there was players. I don't know if it was last season that were telling players not to score touchdowns on the team
Wow.
because they don't want to play and supposedly those players had left. Well, I mean, the way they're playing is you can just tell that's a team that just doesn't want to play for their coach.
Yeah. Yeah, it might be a culture problem there.
Yep.
All right, guys. I know it's getting a little late, but anything else you want to get off your chest, or anything else you want to go over?
Yeah.
Go over.
I want to hear y'all's opinion on the news that broke this week of the bill that passed in California. It doesn't take effect until 2023 on players being able to receive payment for their likeness and whatnot. What are y'all's opinions on that?
I think we're going to see a bunch of legal battles that are about to happen because apparently some other states are working on similar laws. I think this is going to wind up in front of the Supreme Court in the next couple of years, and whatever they decide is going to change a lot. I mean, I think if they open that can of worms, it could turn it into like pro sports where you've got this kind of inequity going on within a locker room and a roster where some guys can get more money than other guys, and it's college is still about team first, and it's not that way in the pros. And I think it could be bad from a fan perspective.
Yeah. I completely agree. Like, I think Herschel Walker hit the nail on the head. It's like, it's the reason why it's amateur sports, and it'll almost take like the purity out of it. That it'll be, you remember Blue Chip and Program, all those movies back in the day. It's kind of opening up all that, and I just feel like, like David said, it's just open and a big can of worms. Like, I agree with the current like little stipend. Like, if they get a little bit of money, because I know some of them maybe come from poverty and they can't afford things, and at the end of the day, I know they don't look at it as you're getting a full ride. Like, Georgia, for example, top 20, 30 program. I mean, you're probably getting, even though most of them don't finish, getting, $120,000, $150,000 degree, which can get you certain things in life. I know they're not looking at it that way. They just want to make it to the NFL. But I just think it's opening a whole like can of worms. And then I think it's needs to be looked at by all the conferences. And I know they make a lot of money off their team names. I know they're making millions of dollars, and those guys don't see it. But I don't know. I just think it's a tough issue.
I'm totally opposite of both of y'all.
Okay, I got you.
I agree with because Aaron Murray gave an interview this week, and I agree with what Aaron Murray said. So on that, the thing about you've got to use it more of like the Olympic model. So the Olympic model is still amateurism, but it allows the athletes to be able to get deals with, maybe it's a car dealership or whatnot. Now, when it comes to the likeness and everything, I think players should, because, is every player going to be able to get money from it? No, not at all, because it's going to be for more of the top players. So the one thing that I look at it like that, well, if you're a player and you want to be making, I want to be making the money that Trey or David's making from signing all these autographs. Well, what's the one thing you're going to have to do? You're going to have to work harder. You're going to have to step up your game. You're going to have to get better on the field. I think that's going to push players in that sense to be able to do that. But I just think, it all goes back to, when Todd Gurley got suspended for those autographs. I mean, the NCAA makes all this money off of jerseys and different things, and they're using the likeness of these players to where, why shouldn't they be able to sign some autographs and make a little bit of money on the side? I don't see any issue of it now, because, I mean, let's be real. And when it comes to Division I football, there's a lot of schools out there that there's boosters and things going on behind closed doors that nobody knows about. That but it is what it is. But I don't think it's gonna, because it'd be one thing if it's gonna be the schools that are paying these kids. That would be bad for football, 100%, because then you're going to have just the haves and the have-nots. But it's not going to affect the smaller schools any more than it is, because, I mean, let's be real, in Western Kentucky, when are they going to ever beat a Bama? They're not. I mean, they're not going to do it now, and they're not going to do it then. So, I mean, it's not going to affect them. And, at the end of the day, it's just going to – I think it's, you're no longer having to hide it when guys are going out to sign autographs, or, they're going to do a commercial for the local car dealership or anything like that. I mean, that's just them just capitalizing on because of they're a big star. Now I think there should still definitely have to watch on, just extra money if it's coming from the school or whatnot, which that should never happen. But I think, if you're signing autographs and things like that, I mean, I feel like you should be able to be able to get that money.
I think this could be a thing that would potentially have a lot of unintended consequences. Like beyond the stuff that we're talking about, how it might change the sport, you're kind of opening up to have access to a whole element on your campus that may be guys that kind of want to use players too.
Well,
that are fly-by-night dealers, and a lot of people look at that as a way to make money off of the players, and they can get the players to sign things, and it's not against the rules, but you might open a whole door to an element that you may not necessarily want involved on your campus or with your program.
I mean, a lot of people could make the argument that the transfer portal has changed college football. I mean, we went from that you had to sit out a year and all this other stuff, and now people are finding ways to get waivers, and the transfer portal, and when guys aren't happy, they're looking to leave. I mean, the thing is change is a scary thing. But I think if you do it right, because the states right now, so you have California passed it, you have Pennsylvania, Florida looking into it, South Carolina, North Carolina, and you have, I believe it's upstate or New York, and I think it might have been New Jersey. Those are just a few of the states right now. I mean, the issue is I don't think it goes necessarily to the Supreme Court. The only reason why I say that is just because there's not like a federal law against this. So it's not kind of like the marijuana situation. States are passing it, but it's still against the law federally. So you have a whole different ball game when it comes to that. But I think I think eventually the biggest thing is the NCAA just needs to get in front of it and, hey, this is what we're going to allow and this is what we're not going to allow. Because that's why I think they set this bill out till 2023, is to give some time. Hey, let's try to compromise and meet in the middle, instead of the NCAA saying this is against the Constitution. Where in the Constitution does it say you can't make money off your likeness? Nowhere. There is not an amendment for that.
But there are a lot of lawyers looking at this, I'm sure, being hired by different entities, and there'll be a bunch of legal battles. I'm sure there are lawyers that can find some way to put this in the court that might have a pathway to get to the Supreme Court, because this is the kind of issue that the Supreme Court probably would want to rule on if there was a way that it came into their threshold.
Right.
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, lawyers can come up with all kinds of things to do.
That's true.
But yeah, definitely a good topic for this week. I did read into that, but yeah, looks like we all have our opinions. But yeah, definitely interesting. Hopefully it won't affect Georgia too much going down the road. But 2023, so it's down the road. It'll be here before you know it.
Well, they need to bring back NCAA football if it sticks. That's all I know.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, yeah, appreciate you guys joining us today, and thought we had a great conversation talking about some the Dawgs and volunteers this weekend. And if everybody stayed this long, come and join us if you're in Charlotte at Hawthorne's Pizza on East 7th Street at 7 p.m. for the Georgia viewing party. And this is the Herschel Talkers, and we're out.